Welcome to the HR Empowerment Podcast, where we will uncover strategies and new insights from HR professionals who discuss up-to-date regulations, best practices, and the most pressing topics like diversity and equity, leadership, dealing with difficult situations, and much more that affect your bottom line and business. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back. Wendy Sellers, the HR lady, here with JC and our special guest, Nicole Griffin.
Hi, Wendy. Hi, Nicole.
Hi.
Wendy, it seems like we were just talking moments ago.
Yeah, and we were. So this is episode 2 of 5 for the best practices for fast growth companies who are exploding and really need to put in some HR practices. What we want to talk about right now is, Nicole and I both have a lot of experience with startup companies and small companies. Probably got more experience than we ever wanted in the past couple of years during the pandemic. And I think the biggest thing from our perspective, from the HR perspective, is fast growth companies are so laser focused on their clients that they kind of forget about their employees. What do you think, Nicole?
Absolutely. I agree, Wendy. It's oftentimes the focus is on the customers and the services and the clients. However, without those happy managers and employees, we don't have happy customers or services to offer. So I think, taking that time to invest in your management, your leadership team, and your people is critical to having a competitive advantage in this time in 2022 and beyond, and engaging those employees in your workforce and your managers.
Wendy, Nicole, it's been said before that all managers need to be trained to align with your desired culture and comply with the laws. A focus on your people could be key. And if you get it wrong, you could expect turnover and even lawsuits. Do you agree with that?
Yes, 1,000%. And it's interesting that with small businesses, they're usually very passionate and an expert at whatever it is that they're making or creating. And for whatever reason, and I don't mean this in a negative way, I think it's just out of sight, out of mind. They just don't think that the laws or whatever apply to them. It's not like they're saying, oh, I'm better. They just go, oh, that's for big companies. That's not for us. Right, Nicole?
Yeah, or they're just not even aware of the laws, Wendy. So they don't know what their federal, state, and local laws are that they're supposed to be adhering to as managers.
Nicole, that could be vastly different from state to state as well. Isn't that right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And in some states, you're required by law to pay out PTO or to give sick leave to employees. And if you're not aware of these laws, you could be violating them and not even knowing that you're doing so as a manager or as a company.
Yeah. And it's really big in today's work from home environment. Not everybody's working from home, but whether you're expanding as a business, remotely or physically, once you cross not even state lines, in some case, just city or county lines, and you have an office over there or an employee working from home over there, you may have vastly different laws. Like you said, if somebody leaves in some states and then even down to some cities, you may have to hand them a check that day. And you didn't know that. And now you just violated a law.
For anyone listening that's not aware, though, PTO, that's not the Pacific Coast Temecula Orchestra. That's personal time off. And talking about key things like that, according to McLean & Company, leadership competencies are of top importance in 2022. Drastic changes to the world of work over the last few years have highlighted the critically important need for leadership, and they've also revealed many gaps in leadership competencies. Nicole, I know you got a lot to talk about in regards to that.
Yeah, absolutely. With startups and sometimes small and mid-sized businesses, one of the amazing things they do is they promote from within, which is wonderful for their employees. However, these employees who are now new managers and leaders don't have necessarily the training to be in that role. And so when they don't have the training, they're not sure how to engage their team. And oftentimes we find that teams that are highly engaged, they have a competitive advantage, and that leads to higher profitability for a company. So yeah, absolutely. The lack of leadership and management training it happens in so many organizations that I've worked with.
Yeah, it's definitely talking about the higher profitability, because I mean, that's what everybody cares about, right? I mean, even nonprofits, we're in this for a reason. We have to make money to pay the bills, to pay our employees, even if you're in a nonprofit or a government, to help the community. But, the Association for Talent Development even has a lot of quotes out there in statistics that says if you have comprehensive training programs for employees, period, not just for managers, but for employees, period, you're going to have 218% higher income per employee than those without. That's huge.
Yeah.
That is huge.
That's 118% more than 100%.
Yes, it is.
Wow.
Casey. But what's the thing is, a big part of my business is training. Nicole is more of the hands-on HR function, and I'm much more of training. And that's why we work well together. But if you're thinking I can't afford training, think about what the Association for Talent Development is saying. And they're saying your profit and your income is going to be higher. And so you're going to pay for it yourself, and you're going to stay out of court, especially when you're training your managers like, hey, you can't ask that in an interview. Or you can't take that action on somebody with a disability. Or, yes, we do have to follow the FMLA. We're a small company, but we're still 55 employees. And if we don't, this is what happens, including fines and, up to the point of even getting shut down.
Employers investing in learning and development indicate increases to employee productivity and engagement, and that leads to increased profitability, just like she's talking. A recent Dale Carnegie survey discovered companies with engaged employees outperform those without by up to 202%. And once again, that's 102% above 100.
You're correct.
I know. It's just for fun.
It is true, though. This employee engagement seems to be a buzzword, but it's not. It's really not. I mean, whatever you want to call it, if you don't have employees that know where the company's going, which means somebody has to explain it to them and says, yeah, put me in, coach, I'm there with you. Doesn't mean you're burning them out. Doesn't mean you're taking advantage of them, but you're saying this is the way we're going and this is why we're making XYZ decisions. You're going to make more money in the end. But these fast growth startup companies, I don't think they intentionally ignore it. They just don't put it as a priority. They say, hey, we hired good people. They'll just figure it out. It's not the way it works.
Yeah. And I've worked with clients who realized I need to start investing more in my managers and in my employees, setting up special certifications for certain companies I work with for their employees so that their employees are learning and growing, and that keeps their millennial generation and Gen Z and any generation engaged. And then that in turn leads to happy customers. So you have more knowledgeable employees, and then your customers are happier because you have these knowledgeable, engaged employees.
Nicole,
absolutely.
I've got a question for you on this. From that leadership perspective, if you're looking to dip your toe in those waters and enhance the training available to your managers, don't you also run the risk of disenfranchising some managers that may have been there for a long time, maybe with the golden handcuffs locked in that middle managerial position, frozen, not moving forward, right? Maybe they're averse to change. How do you help move that needle from A to B in those instances when you're introducing a new training curriculum like this? How do you build that trust?
Yeah, that's a great question. Oftentimes you can do surveys if you'd like to find out what hey, what is my leadership team looking for? What skill gaps do we need to take a look at as a leadership team? And someone who's been in a role for a long time, that's another thing when you're looking at your culture. Do you want someone there who wants to continue learning and growing? Because even if we've been in a position for a very long time, it doesn't mean we know everything about management and leadership. And there's always new methods of leadership and coaching out there to take a look at. So I think it's getting the buy-in of those leaders that have been there a long time and really working towards finding out, hey, what are you looking for in our training program, so that we develop a training program that's going to appeal to you.
And even taking that on a step further of saying, hey, managers who have been here a while, what are you looking for and what can you help us train on? Engaging them in that way, saying you're the expert at this, so help us train the other people. One of those things that they need to be trained on, if they're a lead, if they're a supervisor, a manager, or director, is ongoing feedback. And so we're going to talk about that in a minute in our next episode. We'll be right back.
Thank you for joining the HR Empowerment Podcast, brought to you by Aurora Training Advantage. We hope you've gained new insight and strategies to navigate the HR profession. We look forward to you joining us again on the HR Empowerment Podcast.